Welcome back to Peer-Guided DBT Lessons, provided by DBT Skills Application, Peers Helping Peers. This week's lesson, marked 3-19, is our final lesson in our Emotion Regulation module, and we'll be looking at behavior. Please keep in mind that we're simply peers helping peers, working together to bring about more peaceful, constructive, and ultimately happier lives. In other words, a life worth living. The final lesson in this module will introduce an acronym that does a wonderful job in tying all the information together. Most DBT therapists stick to one book rather than rounding it out with the various professional DBT sources that are available. You probably have never heard this acronym if you have never heard of Kathy Moonshine, author of Acquiring Competency and Achieving Proficiency with Dialectical Behavior Therapy, Volumes 1 and 2. The acronym we'll be looking at is behavior. Now let's take a look at what each individual letter stands for. B is to use effective behavior. E, be grounded in the environment. H, do things that are healing and not hurting. A, act in my best interests. V, be consistent with my values. I, imagine getting through difficulties. O, focus on the desired outcome. And R, reinforce my success. So, starting with B, use effective behavior. If we look first at the definition of the word behavior, it can help us understand better effective behavior. According to the Merriam-Webster Unabridged Dictionary, the definition of behavior is A, the manner of conducting oneself. B, anything that an organism does involving action and response to stimulation. And C, the response of an individual, group, or species to its environment. While curiosity might be a response to meeting an alligator in the wild, going closer to it in order to fulfill that curiosity might not be the most effective behavior. Effective behavior is responding correctly to emotions based on the justification of that emotion. In some of our past lessons, we've used the illustration below, do the emotions fit the facts? If you remember, on the one side, if it's yes, it's justified, and we go on to problem solve it and or radically accept. And then on the other side, when we ask the question, do the emotions fit the facts? If it's no, it's unjustified, and therefore we go on to opposite action and to radically accept. Checking the facts before going into action is a must if you want your behavior to be effective. In order for your behavior to be effective, the action you decide on must be appropriately based on how it fits the facts. Our next letter is E. Be grounded in the environment. Don't forget to be mindful. The illustration below shows us what to do to be mindful and how to do the what skills to be mindful. First of all, observe, describe, and participate non-judgmentally. Then you observe, describe, and participate one-mindfully. And then you observe, describe, and participate effectively. This is not only to be used for what we see, hear, taste, and smell. Mindfulness is to be used for what we feel both physically, through touch, and emotionally. Remember, if what you feel seems too intense, ride the wave. 1. Notice your feeling. Observe your feeling. Experience your feeling as a wave coming and going. Try not to block the feeling. Don't try to get rid of it. Don't try to push it away. Don't try to hold on to it. Don't try to make the feeling bigger. Remember, you are not the feeling. You don't need to act on it. Remember times when you have felt differently. Our next letter is H. Do things that are healing and not hurting. Go to your please skills. Remember the letters and what they stand for. P for physical health. L for lather and rinse. E for eat balanced. A for avoid mind-altering agents. S for sleep balanced. And E for exercise. Our next letter is A. Act in my best interests. Once again, if we look first at the definition of the word act, it can help us understand better what this means. According to the Merriam-Webster Unabridged Dictionary, the definition of act is to take action, do something. Some synonyms for this are take action, take steps, take measures, move, and react. Acting in my best interest requires action, steps, planning, movement, and effective response. In this module, we have learned many helpful skills that would be in our best interest to put into action. No matter how many skills we learn, how proficient we are in DBT acronyms, if we don't act on them, we've gained nothing. If you have a problem that is causing you an uncomfortable emotion and the facts support that the emotions are justified, if possible, solve the problem. If you have a problem that is causing you an uncomfortable emotion and the facts support that the emotions are unjustified, then do opposite action. Don't just know that it is important to balance life by accumulating the positive. Actively increase positive experiences. Don't just dream of what you wish you were able to do. Practice until you master your dreams. Don't just form goals to improve your life. Actively work to accomplish them. Don't just know. Act. Our next letter is V. Be consistent with my values. Values are the principles, morals, standards, and ideals that give your life meaning, importance, and worth. They act as the guiding compass that drives behaviors and determines goals. When we are unclear or unsure of what our values are, then it's not uncommon to feel lost, adrift, or that you are going through the motions of life. A rich and meaningful life is a purpose-driven life. When you feel stressed, upset, or wondering why you are in whatever current predicament you find yourself in, it can feel difficult to muster up the motivation to press on. When we lose sight of why we are working so hard or devoting so much energy to school, work, or a relationship, it's helpful to rediscover your values. Once you increase awareness of what you truly value in life, you will be better equipped to motivate yourself and begin to live a purposeful and intentional life. Take the time to make a list to remind you of what things are the most important to you in order of importance. Our next letter is I. Imagine getting through the difficulties. Visualize things going the way you want. Walk through all the steps successfully in your imagination. The clearer the imaginary actions are, the higher your chances of getting through things successfully. Remember, cope ahead? Rehearse coping effectively in your mind. What can you do differently than how you would typically respond? Rehearse your actions and thoughts, what you will say and how you will say it. practice, role play with another person. Visualize your successful response. Our next letter is O. Focus on the desired outcome. If we think of the analogy of an obstacle race, we can get a clear picture of why this is so important. If while running that race, we focus on the next steep hill or the one coming up after that, or any obstacle we will come upon after that, it will cause that race to seem much harder to get through. Dread of what difficulty may come and placing our focus there is only going to lower our motivation to keep going and giving it our all. If we focus on the finish line, thinking of those obstacles as a temporary delaying difficulty, we are much more likely to reach our goal. Focusing on the outcome is a strong motivator and strengthens us to be able to get through the rough spots. And our last letter, R, for reinforce my success. Remember to celebrate each success. Most goals or changes in our lives don't reach completion in a single step. The president of a company doesn't start in that position. They get there following many small successes. Success in most areas are the same, with so many tiny steps to celebrate. What have you succeeded at with DBT so far? You realized that you needed to learn a new way of thinking. You took the steps needed to learn the skills that would help you make that change. Since you are at this point in the module, you have succeeded in sticking it out and completing it. Give yourself a hand. Next time in our peer-guided DBT lessons, we'll be starting our next module of interpersonal effectiveness.